employee listening culture is broken because most of surveys we have today are happening too rare, 1-4 times a year. Surveys are subjective by design. Surveys serve mostly managers and executives, and that's why surveys are less actionable than we want them to be. My name is David Yang. I started 12 companies. My largest company, Yvaai, is our 1,300 employee organization, a leading AI organization in content intelligence and process intelligence with 50 million users worldwide. And several years ago, I started a project inside Yvaai as a design lab, trying to apply our proprietary content and process intelligence technologies to a very, very interesting subject to us, to people, to understand how we collaborate, how we could collaborate more efficiently. And today, I will tell you 3 stories how AI could help and helped organizations during pandemic and prior to pandemic. I will first tell you how those 3 stories might go wrong. The first story is about mergers and acquisitions. Now, you know that according to the statistics, most of M&A projects go not so efficiently, so 80% go not so efficiently they we wanted. Why? Because of cultural misalignment. Organizations are losing right people after acquisition. Second story might go wrong because this company switched to remote work, and this company lost attraction to their employees. They couldn't understand what exactly these people are feeling and what to be done ASAP. Third story, I will just keep silent and you will listen a 5-minute video of Rachel, director of sales operations of this leading technology company. And Rachel will tell you how during the pandemic they could keep their sales plans on track. However, they could lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. It happened recently. How could we potentially prohibit these 3 stories to go wrong? We should have employee experience technologies which should understand our employees in real time. But how we can understand in real time? We can't ask questions them every day, every minute. Now, this is the time when we can ethically and combine passive signal to our active signal. And that's how we could deliver employee well-being, employee leadership, and develop our employees, and finally improve our financial performance. As I said, the solution to solve the challenges of today's world is a combination between passive and active analytics. We spent several years holding hundreds of experiments, trying to make this combination as ethical, as private, as secure as possible without losing the major signals helping our employees and managers. How does it happen in this technology? This technology called Yva. Yva conducts weekly 60-second surveys individualized to each employee. 10 questions, only 10 questions every week, but those questions are very different. It's a magic questions because AI understands who should be asked every week about what, about whom, and when. So part of those questions relate to employee satisfaction and employee well-being. Some of those questions relate to us to other employees, 360 style questions. But it's scalable because AI understands organizational network and understands that David is working with John, and that's why David will be asked tell which skills John does have and which skills John doesn't. Um, this is one part of active analytics which is different. However, other part of this Eva analytics optional is understanding how people collaborate, what people say versus what people do in Office 365, in Jira, in GitHub, in corporate messengers. Very important to mention that all passive analytics and active analytics happening with employee consent. It's crucial to build the trust between employees. So everything which is analyzed is only with employee consent, and anonymized everything which could be anonymized. And today, before I will finish my presentations with I promised 3 real stories, I would like to use this opportunity at PAFOW to present new generation, third generation of real-time AI-driven employee experience technology called Yva. Please show this 90-second video.
Is your company switching to work from home? How do we listen to our employees' new remote experiences? How do we keep them engaged, productive, and happy? With Yva, we can help businesses manage the transition to a healthy, hybrid remote workforce. Yva evaluates parameters such as remote employee stress, burnout, engagement, speed of response, workload, quality of collaboration, informal leadership, and which employees are most difficult to replace. Yva is a unique real-time system which unites your remote team with 2 streams, active and passive feedback. First, Yva integrates your team members and managers, facilitating 360 peer-to-peer weekly micro-surveys to generate personal recommendations. Second, Yva analyzes corporate collaboration patterns in Office 365, G Suite, Slack, MS Teams, Jira, Salesforce to predict employee stress and well-being. 44 quality metrics pertaining to leadership and collaboration are delivered via dashboard. All analytics are conducted with your employees' opt-in consent. They decide what they want to be analyzed and what to share with their coworkers. In this new remote reality, we don't see our team members face to face, so it's important to know who works with who and how efficiently. Do we have problems with remote teams? Who needs a virtual hug? Each remote employee and manager gets personal dashboards that empower them to increase performance, engagement, and trust. Connecting Yva takes 8 minutes and it's free for the teams under 100 employees. Don't wait. Connect Yva today to make your remote team engaged, productive, and happy.
Thank you. What exactly does Yva 3-point measure? Yva measures more than 100 parameters in 2 categories in 5 aspects. 2 categories are employee experience and leadership. 5 aspects are employee well-being, employee engagement, employee satisfaction, which comprise employee experience, and social capital, meaning influence levels, 5 influence levels, and leadership skills, 31 informal leadership skills, which comprise informal leadership. All those 5 aspects are being measured in Yva in 2 streams, actively and passively. You can see here more detailed information. Regarding the new element which appeared in 3rd generation technology called Yva, we are able to measure 5 informal leadership styles, which are tightly connected to our neuromediators and hormones. Dominance, pushy and determined people connected to testosterone, innovators, creative, risk-taking, novelty seekers connected to dopamine, integrators, people who give hug and need hug connected to oxytocin, protectors, people who create rules and follow rules, and forcing other people to follow rules, connected to serotonin, and experts, subject matter experts. Those 5 styles now are measured by this new real-time AI-driven employee experience technology called Yva. Since Yva is serving hundreds and thousands teams and tens of thousands employees in different regions, we now see anonymized information across in different territories, how the pandemic affected employee well-being, satisfaction, productivity, and leadership. This index is interesting. This chart you can see, I will share interesting statistics now, how during mid-April in North American market, Yva Health, organizational health instincts dropped across multiple organizations. However, the good news that already in July, the level of organizational health came back to pre-pandemic numbers. Digital workday length. This is very interesting. This is coming from passive analytics. We all thought that during pandemic, all our employees will start working around the clock and will answer during the night, and the work and life work balance will be broken. And you know what? Data show that there is such evidence that for some people it's happening. For 12% of employees in North American region, digital workday length increased to 11.2 hours a day, almost 12 hours a day. However, interesting observation, it's not all of people became so engaged. 31% of employees began work actually. The digital workday length went down 1.1 hours, shrunk to 4.7 hours a day. What is happening? Is it something they burnt out, or they're walking their dogs, or being distracted by kids? We should learn. We should help our employees to be more effective and more happy. Interesting information about what exactly is bothering our employees. Since we have limited time today, I will not go through all that statistics, but you can see over months and weeks during this challenging year what matrix exactly should be addressed by us, by managers, to improve employee satisfaction and productivity. Saying all that, we again and again should emphasize the aspect of security and ethics. And when you will think about your own real-time passive versus active analytics, you also obviously should put this as a number one priority. First of all, organizations in the world must ask permission of their employees to collect data. They must explain employees why this data, if they provide this consent for passive analytics, they must know why this is important. And in some technologies, say in Yva, we get very high percent of employees who actually provide this consent, because we deliver back to each employee personal dashboards, which actually help them to improve, and they'll help them to get promoted faster. And now this is the time to to speak about those three stories. The story number one I started, which might go wrong with acquisition, relates to a company of almost 13,000 employees. A food retail company with 1,300 office workers. This company was growing organically and inorganically. However, during previous acquisitions, they used to lose a lot of key people after acquisition. Their short-term unwanted attrition among the most important people happened to be 31%. Can you imagine? And this time, when they try to do it differently. They decided to apply passive analytics and active analytics right after acquisition and during acquisition to identify key people and communicate with them to explain the new strategies and to empower them and to motivate them to keep them. In several days, this company conducted passive analytics, which revealed 122 key employees and 14 informal leaders in the target organization. And system, during several weeks, very quickly conducted in-person and group meetings with those key employees and informal leaders. And EMPS level went immediately up because those people were opinion makers and opinion leaders in their organization. And finally, in this case, unwanted attrition, 3 months unwanted attrition was only 8% versus 30 plus percent previously, which saved $8.3 million for this organization. And this is the one of pictures how they actually not only identified informal leaders and key people, but also understood the who should be involved in this immediate connection. In this second story, a company saved $1.5 million in productivity, in short-term productivity during pandemic. This company had employees which pre-pandemically already were working from home. However, after in April and May, the company was forced to move all people who could be moved to work from home. And they start receiving signals, very controversial signals. What exactly bothered employees, they only were able to understand with surveys. They conducted several of them. But the problem was opinions of people were different. So which opinion they should follow first, and how to actually address very, very specific actions. That where passive analytics, combination with passive analytics helped. And they could collect anonymous group, average by group opinions, but only from those employees which have the highest social capital and highest influential levels and highest effect to company performance. For this interesting statistics, which I will be able to share later, we are available at our virtual booth here in PAFOW, so please feel free to come and ask more questions. Interesting statistics again, 37%, 67% people expect they will work from home permanently. However, 26% of employees prefer to return to office even now during pandemic, and 52%, according to those in those companies where is deployed want to return to office after pandemic. Very important element which in this second story the company solved is regards to regards to making all kinds of people equally happy and empowered. Inclusion. This is something we try to, as an industry, try to solve previously just by asking questions. But it's not always very accurate, and it's still subjective. This chart is interesting. Careful look what we have in Access. Yva Social Capital Index, which represents leadership, is horizontal scale. Yva Burnout Index is vertical scale. And you see the dots of two colors. So green color relates to female population and blue relates to male population. And you see each department is represented by two dots. So R&D, for example, you see that R&D female population is not burnt out, but is significantly less empowered than men. And you see other situations, and overall in the company, all male population is burned out. Female population is less burned out, but most more less empowered. So that chart in dynamics helps to address inclusion problems. And now I would like to introduce LightEdge and Rachel. Please go ahead, this 5-minute video.
Value what Yva helps us accomplish and to create a work environment and culture, be better managers, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And about 7 years ago, I came in on the HR team. Now I'm the Director of Sales Operations and Enablement. LightEdge is a leading provider for data center co-location and compliant cloud with highly regulated businesses such as hospitals, banking and finance, and regulated SaaS industries. We have offices and data centers in Kansas City, Omaha, Raleigh, Texas. It was a very crazy time. We moved to be remote, I believe it was mid-March. The challenges of that work-life balance and what our employees are experiencing while working from home, we definitely see both ends of the spectrum. Not having that physical boundary of work and office has really enabled some people to work around the clock. Another aspect, I know we have people who can maybe become more easily distracted, or they have, all the kids and are facing the challenges of, we are tracking the activity levels. That optimism and pessimism that we get through the burnout index with Yva has been really critical in allowing us to keep a pulse on how our employees are doing. Something whereas, on the HR side, that's in the past been a gut reaction, and something that we feel and we sense when we talk to somebody in person. Well, if we're not having those frequent conversations in person that we had in the office once upon a time, this tool can at least help us put a flag up, whether it's us reaching out to the employees or notifying the manager that, hey, something might be going on, we should dig in. Not just to wait for an employee to be frustrated and come to us, but as an organization, and we hope our managers, are staying engaged and being proactive to help lessen the stress and the frustrations of their employees where they can. Having a trigger like the burnout index and those activity indexes help us kind of to see things that we wouldn't have been able to see prior to partnering with Yva. We started partnering with Yva prior to the pandemic. During the pandemic, I think this has been pretty critical to help us stay in tune with the stresses of our staff and to make sure that as a company we're doing what we can to mitigate and offload those stressors and to create a work environment and culture that our employees are proud of and will want to stay with. The first example that comes to mind relates to one of our sales directors. We've, with the pandemic, that team's been under a lot of pressure to perform and to hit some big quotas still for our company. Hours of extra time working and highly engaged to try to get his team to accomplish the goals. And it was a very stressful quarter. We started to see his activity index dipping, and I know his VP, our sales VP, started to ask questions, and they've got a very good relationship, so it was easy to have the conversation of what's going on, how are you feeling, what can we help you with, and we did uncover that the stresses to hit that end of quarter expectation and the amount of work he was doing to make his team successful and the time he was putting into that was really having an impact on his morale. And I think he flat out told me like he was burnt out. And not that he didn't love what he was doing, but he was just working so hard. At the end of that quarter, we were lucky to accomplish, the goals that he was set out to do. And as a management group with him, we really tried to alleviate and give him some downtime. And we did watch and see that he went out of burnout and quickly was re-engaged and had that little rest that he needed to prepare for the next round, because it's always moving. And this group is responsible for hundreds of thousands of dollars in quota attainment for the years. It would have had a big impact. It's half of our sales quota, so it would have had a big impact. And in this use case, it would have impacted the performance of that entire team if that individual were to continue down the burnout path and resign. So we were lucky that we were able to identify a frustration as quickly as we did and do what we could to alleviate some of those pain points for that employee to keep him with the company. Having the data that we get with Yva, we can start to see things that we may not have been able to just ourselves. So the AI of this tool helps us gain better visibility into the performance of our teams, into the makeup of our people, so we can make the right decisions as a company to build the teams that we need.
Thank you, everyone, and waiting for in our virtual booth. Thank you, Alf. Thank you, PAFOW.
Hey, David, thank you very much. I really appreciate what you shared, and I definitely have a bunch of questions for you. I'm going to invite you to my podcast so we can actually slow down a little bit and get to some of those questions, because I really, given your physics background in particular, I see the dots being connected. There's a lot of gaps in our work potentially, and you've taken a very systematic approach. So thank you very much for what you've done, and look forward to talking again soon. Okay?
Thank you, Al. Thank you, PAFOW.